What if we told you that some of Golden Age Hollywood's biggest legends were hiding their true identities? Not on screen, but in real life. Behind the glamour, the Oscars, and the studio-made fairy tales, many stars lived secret LGBTQ+ lives they could never reveal. Careers were threatened, relationships destroyed, and entire truths erased. Tonight, we uncover the stories they feared the world would discover. William Enns was Hollywood's first major leading man who refused to live a lie. In the 1920s, he was one of MGM's biggest box office stars, handsome, charming, and adored. But behind the glamorous posters and red carpets, Enns lived openly with his partner, Jimmy Shields. In an era when homosexuality was considered a career-ending scandal, Enns made a choice no other star dared. He chose love over fame. MGM executives demanded he enter a fake marriage to protect his image. Enns refused. As punishment, his contract was terminated, and his acting career was effectively erased. Studios blacklisted him, gossip columnists smeared him, and Hollywood tried to rewrite him out of history. But the story didn't end. In tragedy, Enns reinvented himself as a world-famous interior designer, serving elite Hollywood clients, including Joan Crawford. His lifelong relationship with Shields lasted more than 45 years, making him not just a closeted icon, but a symbol of defiance in a world built on lies. Today, many historians call him Hollywood's first openly gay star, a title the industry spent decades trying to bury. Marlene Dietrich. Marlene Dietrich was more than a film legend. She was a force of nature, with her tuxedos, androgynous style, and boundary-breaking performances. She became one of the earliest queer icons of Hollywood. Rumors of her relationships with both men and women followed her everywhere, and she didn't seem to mind. Dietrich reportedly had affairs with famous actresses like Greta Garbo and Edith Piaf, though these connections were buried by studios terrified of her influence. In private, she openly embraced her bisexuality, frequenting secret LGBTQ salons in Berlin and later Hollywood. Yet publicly, she maintained a mysterious aura, ever confirming, never denying. Her masculine fashion statements weren't just style, they were rebellion. Dietrich weaponized secrecy, turning it into power, making her both untouchable and unforgettable. In an era when the industry demanded conformity, Dietrich became the embodiment of fluid identity and unapologetically herself. Alla Nazimova. Alla Nazimova was one of the most powerful silent era actresses and one of the most closeted. Behind her mansion walls on Sunset Boulevard, she hosted what many historians call Hollywood's first secret lesbian community. Her home became known as the Garden of Alla, a gathering place for actresses who couldn't live freely under studio contracts. Nazimova reportedly had multiple relationships with women, including director Dorothy Arzner and actress Eva Le Golin, though none could ever be publicly acknowledged. Studios attempted to control her image, but Nazimova pushed back, financing her own films, many filled with coded queer themes. When her relationships became too difficult to hide, Hollywood turned its back. Financial ruin and career decline followed. Yet Nazimova remains a foundational figure in LGBTQ+ Hollywood history. The quiet architect of a hidden world, allowed queer stars to survive in secrecy. Barbara Stanwyck. Barbara Stanwyck rose from a tragic childhood to become one of Hollywood's most respected actresses, but her private life was shrouded in shadows. Throughout her career, rumors persisted that she had deep romantic connections with several women, including her longtime companion Helen Ferguson. Stanwyck fiercely guarded her privacy, refusing to discuss her personal life even as gossip columnists circled like vultures. Her marriages, including one to actor Robert Taylor, were rumored to be more arrangement than romance, possibly orchestrated to silence speculation. Stanwyck was known for her intimidating independence. She lived alone, avoided Hollywood social circles, and kept her closest relationships out of the public eye. Whether bisexual, lesbian, or simply misunderstood, Stanwyck's secrecy became part of her mystique. Hollywood couldn't control her, and that made her dangerous. Jean Acker. Jean Acker is often remembered as Rudolph Valentino's wife, but their brief, troubled marriage may have been a cover. Acker was allegedly part of a private circle of queer women in early Hollywood, including Alla Nazimova, who is said to have introduced her to that hidden world. On her wedding night, Acker reportedly locked Valentino out of their hotel room, a scandal that fueled rumors their marriage was never romantic. Behind the scenes, Acker was linked to several women, including actress Grace Darmond, But because tabloids obsessed over Valentino, her own identity was swallowed by gossip, secrecy, and studio fear. Acker's life reveals a brutal truth for many women in Hollywood. Heterosexual marriage wasn't love it, was camouflaged. George Cukor, one of Hollywood's greatest directors, was also one of its most carefully hidden gay figures, known for films like The Philadelphia Story and My Fair Lady. He built a career shaping the biggest stars on screen while concealing who he truly was. Cukor hosted legendary private parties at his home, rumored to be safe havens for closeted gay actors. The studio system tolerated him as long as he stayed silent. But the rumors were powerful enough that he was fired from Gone with the Wind, many believe, due to homophobic pressure. Cukor lived discreetly with a male partner for decades, yet Hollywood never acknowledged it. His success was immense, but his freedom was limited by an industry terrified of the truth. Rudolph Valentino, the ultimate Hollywood heartthrob, faced relentless speculation about his sexuality. His elegant manner, stylized fashion, and poetic charm defied traditional masculinity, triggering vicious press attacks. Tabloids mocked him as effeminate, while gossip linked him to secret relationships with men. His marriages, both short and troubled, only fueled theories that they were staged to protect his image. Valentino never addressed the rumors, but the obsession with his private life reveals how deeply Hollywood feared anything that challenged gender norms. His death at 31 immortalized him and froze his secrets forever. Anna May Wang. As Hollywood's first Chinese-American star, Anna May Wang battled racism and possibly hid her sexuality as well. Rumors link her to several women in the industry, including fellow actresses she traveled with abroad. Interracial relationships were already taboo, and queer relationships even more dangerous, leaving Wong trapped in double secrecy. Denied leading roles and on-screen romances due to discrimination, she created a private world away from the cameras. One historians believe included deep emotional bonds with women. Wong's legacy is one of silence, resilience, and survival in an industry that refused to let her be fully seen. Dorothy Arzner was a storm, standing alone against the male-dominated system of Golden Age Hollywood. As the era's only major female director, her very existence was a challenge. Her masculine suits, authoritative demeanor, and leadership on set overturned Hollywood's familiar image of women. But behind the scenes lay an even greater taboo: her years-long romantic relationship with Marion Morgan. This relationship was never explicitly denied, but it was never acknowledged either. Studios buried this truth about her life in files, while the press seemed to have tacitly agreed to ignore it. Arzner shaped the careers of major actresses like Katharine Hepburn, Lucille Ball, and Joan Crawford. Some historians believe Arzner sets were among the safest queer spaces in Hollywood, one of the rare places where female actors could work without judgment and feel free. Arzner never labeled herself unskillfully, shielded her private life in interviews. But her lifestyle, her choices, and her relationship with Morgan spoke volumes beyond words. She was not just a director, she was a quiet revolutionary who managed to exist in an era that forced people to hide their identities. Hollywood never gave her the chance to tell her true story. But today, history is finally making her courage visible. Tab Hunter. Tab Hunter was the perfect male star of the 1950s, a sun-kissed, athletic, handsome, and flawless embodiment of the American dream. But beneath those glossy posters, handsome roles, and adoring screams lay a deep fear: the revelation of his true identity. Hunter was gained in Golden Age Hollywood. This was a secret that could destroy his career. Warner Brothers marketed him as a heterosexual hero. His relationships with actresses like Natalie Wood were entirely fabricated photos staged for the press. Arranged dates, fake romantic stories, all for one purpose: to hide Hunter's secret relationships with men, especially his connection with Anthony Perkins. When a Scandal magazine threatened to expose him, the studio panicked. Not to protect Tab Hunter, but to protect its own money, image, and investments. Hunter spent most of his life trapped in a persona that wasn't his own. He was forced to live his loves in secret houses under aliases in the shadows. But years later, he decided to tell his own story. Through his memoir and documentary, he revealed the truth to the world. Thus, a young leading man silenced by fear ultimately became a symbol of courage. Tab Hunter was no longer just a movie star. He was a quiet LGBTQ+ icon who shed light on the identities Hollywood had hidden. As we pull back the final curtain on Golden Age Hollywood, one thing becomes crystal clear: the real drama was never just on the screen. Behind the glamorous gowns, the perfect smiles, and the carefully crafted studio lies. Many stars lived double lives fueled by fear, secrecy, and the desperate need to protect their careers in a world that wasn't ready to accept them. Their stories aren't just gossip, they're reminders of how far society has come, and how hard these icons fought just to exist. Some took their truth to the grave, some left only rumors, and some hid in plain sight, terrified that one headline could destroy everything. If this era had been more accepting, how many legends would have lived openly? How many lives would have been different? One thing's for sure, Hollywood's biggest secret was never a scandalette, was its silence. And now, that silence is finally breaking. Stay tuned, there are more hidden stories waiting to be uncovered.